Oh, we are doing a bit of a test stream today, because I actually streamed yesterday, and it went horrible. For some reason, music recorded when it wasn't supposed to. So, we're here, streaming. That VOD will not go up, because I don't want to get a bunch of copyright strikes on the VOD channel. We doing a little short stream. And I should actually copy paste the link because that's kind of important. And this is a test stream in many ways actually, because I also want to test out a mod pack. A short little stream. Just a quick one. I should actually add Pumpkin before they get upset. I don't know if I have no clue if my sound alerts are working. Are the sound alerts working? Are they still working from yesterday? I would hope so. Let me test. You guys are gonna hear this. Test.
Small.
No, it's not working. Well, I already hit start streaming. I should have done that first. I cannot hear them. That is unfortunate. Wish I could. Actually, I want to see if something will work. I have Chatterino. I always forget I have it on my computer. Because I can always use that, too. Click and add. Channel. Mutation. Hi, Pumpkin. I forgot to get it working. I apologize. We're doing a test stream because the VOD messed up and for some reason recorded my stream music, so I still have the song on repeat. We're gonna just do a quick test stream today. Sorry I'm late. I'm counting out $15 in dimes and nickels. Oh dear, good luck with that. Yeah. But I need to make sure that one oh, you're at $12 right now. Nice. I need to make sure, one, that the VOD won't record this music. Still have a jar. And two, I want to test out a mod pack. So we're doing that as well. I figured I'd hit two birds with one stone. If stream is successful and I like the mod pack, we will do this again properly Wednesday. So you're getting a lot of streams this week. I really wish Sunday worked out. There were some funny moments. I was stuttering a lot. I could have had good clips from that, but no. You can hear the music all the time. So that's a little hard to use for clips. That's a little difficult. No. I'm trying to figure out, is the sound still connected? I hear the music. I hear the music in my earbuds, but I'm not hearing the game in my earbuds. Was that a problem with old Minecraft? Because I know that's a problem with Skyrim. And I can't change what devices. I have to open it. Okay. Because I know that is a problem I regularly have with Skyrim. I haven't been playing Skyrim in a while, but apparently that's a problem with old Minecraft too, and I can't fix that, and I would like to be able to hear it without an echo in stream. Now to count out 120s. 120s. That reminds me. Horse Plinko. What is my score? Just do a good old Horse Plinko. I got 8 out of 100. That's sad. I should hold on. I want to set up. I want to change how Streamlabs sees chat because it doesn't show Nightbot. I would love for it to show Nightbot just so I can show when we do Horse Plinko. Bots, chat box. skip. I know how to make a chat box. So Twitch, muted shadows. I'm gonna remove Nightbot from that list. And so that reset it. So now, hopefully, if I do Horse Plinko, is it gonna show up on screen? I got 88 out of 100 that time. I might need a... I might need a reset. Save. Copy widget, perhaps? Oh, you're gonna see a blank screen for a second as I fix the widget. Because I have all my widgets in a nested scene. I've had just the Minecraft launcher open for a minute. There we go. Now, Horse Plinko. It's still not showing up on actual screen. That's sad. This has become a test stream in many ways. Why are there two? Why are there two? I have one. There's only... Oh, that's alerts. I put it in alerts for some reason. Oh, dear. Well, that's back to the old thing. Where's... Oh, I have... The chat's actually on this one. Okay. I just want to show Nightbot. I got Nightbot off of muted shatters. I have saved these settings. My computer's yelling at me for opening Minecraft. I just wanted to show. Yeah, the rest of these are fine muted. I just wanted to show Nightbot. Question of the week. Will that show? No. I just wanted to show Nightbot, but no. Damn. Well. Chat notifications is a thing? Hold on, I'm turning on chat notifications. That would be great to have. I would love that. Positive game sound? Alright. Maybe that will work. I don't know. Because showing Nightbot isn't seeming to be working. Unless that's something on Nightbot's dash and not... I opened sound alerts, that's not Nightbot. I want you to show... But it's the chat integration, so you'd think Nightbot would show up. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I want to open up Minecraft. There we go. I do have this city saved. We're not going to play it. Actually, you know what? Yeah. We're going to recreate it. So it's test. So it can be a true test. Survival, yeah. Why not? Also have a cup of tea. Just black tea, good old Twinings English breakfast. It is decaf, though. I found this has actually helped me out a lot, because I love my tea, but I've been avoiding drinking the tea that I absolutely adore, because caffeine, and I can't have caffeine too late in the day. And sometimes I have too much caffeine early in the day anyway. Where the hell am I? Ocelots! Oh, the pretty ocelots. Where? This is just a super flat world. Where is the city? This is supposed to be a city. Oh, because it's recreate, not a copy. It was recreated. And if it was made on a super flat, then yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna open the folders. And just a copy paste. Copy. There we go. So now if we go back, there's one that's called copy, and I can rename this to test. Magic! I don't care. It's magic. There we go. I'm in creative mode. I don't turn game mode survival. Hi, plush. I'm gonna throw this away. Sunday stream, the VOD saved the sounds. And that's... You want head pets? There you go. I can't... It's all the way over there. I can't reach. Hold on, just for you, plush. Hold on. Just for you. No! My camera's over it! Just for you. There you go. What the hell? Minecraft? I'm seeing the edit world thing again, and it's crashing. And I'm back! Okay. Whatever, I guess. Mission successful. Nice. Minecraft, there we go. But yeah, the VOD didn't save. They actually put a little walk sign. How the hell did you do? Oh, it's a head. The Sunday VOD saved the music, and I don't want that to happen, so we're streaming for like hour again. Today, so I can 1, test out stream, 2, this is actually 1, a pre-made world, which is kind of obvious. 2, it's a mod pack called the Mustard Virus, and that may be recognizable if you've watched Forge Labs at all. Because he made a whole zombie thing. I only had $3 in my wallet, so I broke into my change jar and still have half a jar. Oof. My mom now had 100 pennies, 70 dimes, and 20 nickels, all totaling $15. Nice. Also, I thought it'd be a lot more fun to have a zombie virus in the middle of a city. I'm gonna turn down my render distance. In the middle of a city, rather than your Stardew dog's name's Spoon. Have it in the middle of a city over the random world. So hopefully this is fun. EFO? Or trash bag? Trash bin. Trash bin, I guess. Subway. Eat fresh. Subway fresh! I meant that as a joke, but that was just straight up a Subway. I love the little details here, though. That's great. I don't know, like, anything in this mod pack. This is also an old version. Jellied slimed chest plate. I can't remember. There's, like, a bunch of different mods or worlds I was looking at. I think this one, if I remember correctly, there's, like, a way to get out of the giant town eventually. Plus like 5 quarters, a few pennies, and however many dimes I also took out of my pocket and threw at her before running away. Ooh, Subway. Out? Yes, maybe? Or is this just gonna be deaf? Well, it's a giant parking area, I can tell you that. I can't see a damn thing, though. Because it's also, the options were automatically set to moody, so I'm just sticking with it. Boot, boot, boot. Also, hopefully next Passion SMP video, I'm going to be working on the transit center. I've already got... I can't go around this way. That's not fun. I'm already working on some behind the scenes, some like planning out the transportation center and how we're gonna remake and readjust the Nether Hub. So that's already in progress. And we should be playing mini games with the SMP next Tuesday. We haven't set up a time, but we all know we're available, so that works. And we're trying to get more members in as of right now. That's a cool way to do that. Borf. Borf, borf, borf. Borf, borf, borf. Oh, because they don't, there's not a slab version of that, huh? Is this really what the bricks used to look like? I didn't really mess with the bricks all that much. Okay. Oh, these are this is for trains. Okay. I'm honestly just kind of trying to run in one direction and just see where it takes me. And see just how big this damn thing is. I can't go through that. Can I go around here? No, I cannot. Can I grieve? A little bit? What? No one said anything remotely close to that, Pumpkin. I'd even make it. That was not worth it. How? What word did I even remotely say close to that? I'm trying to figure out which word you misheard because I have no idea what it could have been. What indeed? Where am I? Is this a soccer stadium? Oh, it's a subway system. Hey, this is actually kind of what I'm going for, with the transit center. Oh, I have auto jump on. Ew. Ew, where? Accessible Snooper settings? Video. I just want to turn off auto jump off. Vibe is sus right now. It's always sus with you two in here. And with the amount Pumpkin flirts with me. Honestly, since I started doing the face cam, even before I was doing face cam, they just relentlessly flirted with me. Ooh, what's going on over here? Just more of a substation, I guess? I don't know what half of this place has going on. What thing? And I'll fucking do it again. Yeah, that sounds about right. And when I went to Hawaii, we got dropped off in an area kind of like that. So this is just water on this side. I think I just got a giant city. So we may not do a city then. Because there's there's nothing for me to do here. It's a cool thing, but there's no way for me to really survive. I want to look at the actual mod pack for a second. So we're going to move over to chatting. Because I know there's a mod that adds a structure that is cities to the game. I know that's a thing. You know what I want to do? So I changed on Streamlabs. Every time somebody chats, I can hear it now, which helps me actually pay attention. But it's like the bloop and this little like ding. I associate with like YouTube super chats. Mom is watching the stream from my phone and goes, "Oh my god, they have a mustache," and now she's going on how she needs you to visit. When I have the money again. I don't got the money to do that again. I'm gonna go into, I have a thing saved. There we go. Instance, my instance. I just want a blurp sound effect and throw that in. There's no, can I do a bloop? Bleep bloop? I just want to find a sunny Funny sound effect. I could put the chat sound for myself as the pipe drop. Just to scare the shit out of me every time somebody chats. Metal pipe sound effect. Just to ruin my... What? What? Violence? Stab? Yes? Stab 'em all? How do you think we'll do that? Do I just need to make a duck duck goose lobby? I has tiny knife. Why do you have a tiny knife? That is never a good idea. Duck honk. I can do a pop. Cause threat. Oh wait, I actually have the Minecraft ding from using it in videos. Hold on. Where is it in my files? Film edit, sound effect, my sound effects. Not rare achievement. Orb. So now if next your mom pop quiz your mom. What about her? Her birthday's next month. What about her? April 5th, I'm a good kid. Plus, it's not that hard to remember. Old. You're older than I am. Both of you are older than I am. Yeah. Save settings. Again, both of you are older than I am. Than I am. Blah. What is... I accidentally just completely closed Minecraft. Content... I know there's one that just spawns... I know there's a mod that just spawns in cities. Does this mod pack have that mod? No, it does not. Can I add said mod to? If I search city... and then click mods and filter for 1.12.2. Immersive cars. City mod. There's also the parasites one. Is that the one that has cities? Additional structures, better animals, biomes aplenty, dynamic trees, all that. Lost souls. What's the Lost Souls mod? Add-on mod for the Lost Cities to add more danger to buildings. Does this have the Lost Cities? Yes, it does. We're playing the Parasites one then. It's still a zombie apocalypse. It's fine. It's close enough. What did I even name the stream? Little stream zombie apocalypse something? I don't even remember what I named it. I change it usually in alerts or like Twitch dashboard and not on OBS. Stabbies. Mustard virus test. Okay. You know, we'll stick with it. Why not? It's not too different. Good mug. Where my boyfriend go, I stab him. Maybe not. Maybe not. Also, I'm still getting the old sound effect. I want to be the new sound effect for when people type in stream. Did it not save? I thought you saved, or did I change the wrong thing? Chat. Positive. It didn't save. Select. Save. So now it should be a little ding. Yeah. Wanna go hang out with game friends, but they eepin'. Oh no. You didn't have to... Game just hit me in the face with nostalgia music. Hello. Where am I? I'm in the walls. Yes, you are. Welcome to what I have to do every time we set up a new mod pack. That's not right. Fuck. Oh, that's why I was looking a little weird. I had it at normal, not large. Turn that down. No. Realm notifications. Music, no, no. 15. 50. 15. I'm paranoid, so 25. I usually put that, like, higher, but I want this music kind of loud. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Blocks 50. And I don't know what biomes means, but we'll set it to that. Is the damn auto jump on? Yes, turn that off. Controls. Nice. Yeah, okay. And I also threw this. Oh wait, I don't need to use the city. No, I don't need to use this. Father, I'm scary. Sure. Yes, yes you are. Very much so. I am the monster. Rah rah rah. Rar 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 rar. 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 I'm letting... I know I'm tired because I'm just doing that without thinking about it. There are good and bad things about me being tired. And it's part of it is because I just don't think about a joke, so I end up letting a lot more out, so I have a better chance of like one of them actually being funny. But other times it just ends up being a moment like that. Also, we're gonna find out how much this lags my game, so that's gonna be great. You know what? I do want this at 100. Hold on. That was a lot better when I could just look around very... Why am I on a mountain? Oh, I'm gonna have to deal with old boats, aren't I? Okay, not super old. I'm... Hopefully. If I remember right, with these trees. Yeah. Do I have a flint hatchet? Is that a thing I can make? Or do I just have to slowly, very slowly punch down a tree? Golden shot. The gold looks weird. I'm not sure if I like the gold. Oh, right, the old totems. Oh yeah, structure block. There's a lot of things in here that I don't entirely know. That's a lot of stuff. Wooden longbow. Wooden dagger. Oh, we have a bunch of different things. Small man. Small brain, small man. I am small. But that just makes brain big and head. Cause brain normal. Let's not overdo this. Brain normal. Small man. Small head. But make big brain because brain normal. Brain not big, but brain normal. But small man, so brain large and small man. I can make a boomerang? Make a club. I can make a battle axe and a flanged mace. I can make a glaive, hell yeah. We like a glaive. Nickel. Electrum strengthened crossbow. I'm not gonna... Lead. Nummy. Platinum halberd. Steel. There's a lot of things going on here. I'm just gonna assume I gotta punch this with down my hand. I don't think that's gonna happen. I guess we run around? Autumn oak acorn? Can I do that? Will that give me things if I punch specifically this branch? Easy math, yes. Okay, yeah. We're getting somewhere, we're getting somewhere. Guardian shoots. My camera's covering that. There's a subtitle underneath me that says Guardian shoots. Oh, is that from me crafting? Yes. Yes, it is. Persimmon, okay. There we go. This is far better than the lost VOD of me watching dirt dry. And Chopada tree. stand diagonal a little bit so I don't get hurt by it. And chop at a tree. Yeah. Did I... You ready for like some of the most unhinged keybinds? Or just like random keybinds. I have my toggle perspective as middle click, which ruins other mods sometimes because it wants me to use middle mouse, but it just doesn't work. I'm sorry, Pumpkin. They're broken this stream. I forgot to change them. I appreciate the honk. I see the honk though. I appreciate it. Pumpkin, is you busy? Perhaps. They tend to be a lurker. I did not want to do that. There we go. I need to cut. Is that a whale? What is that? Is that a big old fish? That might be bad. What are you? Are you a shark? You look like a bad. Not too busy. I heard it, so that's all that matters. Not too busy. Why? What's up? Gamer. What's gamer? What's game? Ooh, easy stone. Hell yeah. Also, I have no idea when the parasites are gonna come, so we just vibing. Also, I'm aware I've hit the half hour. I'm just gonna keep going. I wanna hit till 8 PM because I consistently lose stream at 8 PM. So I'm wondering if it's an hour or... Because hour into stream is usually when I lose it. What game? Lethal's Modern Minecraft games. Not good at naming games. Very much so. I need to grab you two and we just hop onto like Hypixel or something. I want to find a city. That's what I want to go find a city. That's not what I want to do. Have some extra wood. You a thing? I don't care about you quite yet, though. And you definitely don't care for me. Okay, goodbye. That screeches. I want to find a city. You down for Hypixel? After stream, okay. And alright, we still could do during stream if y'all are up for that. Oh, iron, iron, iron. I forgot how old... I forgot the old textures. Hey, that's my thing, Mew. God, why are my chats so slow? I don't know. What do you mean that's your thing? Oh, asking if people are down for Hypixel? Do I? I barely have enough for a... Oh, I think it's turning night time. That or it's the biome. I barely have enough for a furnace. I said that before you said it? Well, that sucks, don't it? Cause you slow. Hey, be nice. Get some more cobble. Can I read ticks? Can I see what time it is? Ticks, where are the ticks? Is it not gonna tell me? I'm trying to look. We're in a dead swamp, I can see that. I'm rage. Yeah, let me go grab computer. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna tell me ticks. Okay. Alright. And I'm gonna make a second one, because I'm gonna actually be good at Minecraft. I would hope so. I would hope I am at this point. Boop. Give me the things. When did I save a poppy? We have poppies! I have poppies again! Wooden shield, river cane, oh, stick. I need more tray. I got dark oak wood? Okay. Acquired hardware. Wait, do I have the Iron Man achievement? Okay. I want advancements. Do I have the Iron Man achievement? Suit up, okay. Oh, we do have the shield, then. Shield? Shield. So there's the normal Minecraft shield still, okay. So I can go ahead, I don't have the material. Yeah, I'm missing one, okay. Give me this tree. Give me the tree. There we go. I'm not gonna die to a tree day one. It is getting close to night though, and that is making me worry. That is very much a reason to worry at this point. It's dead wood. I can't craft anything with dead wood. What can I do with dead wood? Dead. Well, you can use it as a log, but that's about it. That's all you can do with that. I'm hoping that looks like a normal tree. It should be the normal tree. Perhaps it is the normal tree. Yeah, okay. More persimmons. And maple. But it gave me oak wood. Okay. That's fine, and it's nighttime. I just see the sky slowly changing shades. I think that might be because I'm walking into this biome, though. Yeah, gave me all that. I can make pants. Or I can make the more important shield and tools. Let's use up the rest of my wood. What game you want to play on Hypixel? Are you asking Pumpkin, or are we genuinely all hopping on together? Because I'm getting mixed signals. Also, I know my lesson from the last horror mod pack. I'm just gonna boat for the night. Plush, okay. I might be in a lake. IDK what I'm doing. I'm just playing this mod pack, apparently. There are sheep where I started. I can go over to them. It is dark as all hell. This is just enough of modern Minecraft that's a little easy for me. I imagine the parasites would come out at night, but I can't be fully positive on that note. If they do, we're gonna find out soon. That's just a creeper. That was far away, bro. I just want to see if the sheep are still up here. Yes, they are. Mob alerted? I just want to sleep. Zombie groans. There we go. Oh, it's not so old that I can't do mixed. I don't think I can do mixed wool, so I'm gonna have to find a skeleton, I believe, so I can change or get like bones somehow. I need bones. And I've yet to see Skelly. So that's just a birch tree up there. And off we go. Into the unknown, apparently across the aisle. Maybe there's some Skellymans over here? There's a Skellyman! I need to turn off the notifications on my phone before I forget. Skellyman! I need bones! Give me your bones! I hear frogos. Froggies. Frokies, frogget. Oh, that's the sound when mobs see me, okay. Well, there's a Skeleton boy. And I only want the Skeleboy, so let's bring all the zombies over here, I guess. Or I could just look for a new one. I could just look for a Skelly Man that isn't difficult. Granted, if I'm in a bow and they're aiming at me from afar, it's gonna be a little difficult no matter what. What are you? Crab? Crib? Cribus? Cribus? Mob alerted. What mob? Oh, yeah, there's one over there. Alright. Well. At least the swamps seem to be pretty safe so far. So far. It doesn't help in order to, like, keep the game running well. What is that? In order to keep the game running well, my render distance low. What are you? You're pretty! It's Carl! That's gorgeous. I'm not sure if that's a backport or an early mod. I love, like, the little ambiance, too. I am genuinely enjoying this mod pack, and it seems to be running well. I haven't been really dropping frames, so that's good. There's creepers in that mess, I think. Yeah, or I could just be seeing the sugarcane. No, that's a creeper. Mob alerted. Oh yeah, there's a zombie there. Yeah. What do you know? It's a bad idea, but I do need a Skelly Man. Oh, never mind, not a good idea. I immediately hate this because I can't third person through the grass. Hey, old village. Hello, do you got beds? Y'all got beds? Y'all got bed? Anybody got bed? You got bed? How about you got bed? You got string for... I can trade you string. You don't got bed? You don't got bed? Bed new. I forgot bed new. And I don't know what's gonna get me white dye. Where? I alerted a mob. So where is... Oh, there you are. I never said she was good at party games. Party games are fun. Monster Hunter, nice. Bonk. 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 No, bonk. Yeah. That's silly. Oh, hi, dude. Hey, dude. What are we doing? Okay. Iron. Ooh, bunch of goods. Hell yeah. It's not the greatest, but it is pretty good. I still yet to be able to find a Skeleboy that I could reliably attack. Oh, there's a zombie. That's a creeper. There's a white sheep! Give me the white sheep. Right, ooh. All of you guys suck. All of you suck. All of you suck a lot. All of you suck a lot. Oh, there's gotta be wolves in the desert. Oh, there's probably coyotes, huh? Well, I could finally make a bed. Oh wait, do I have sleeping rolls? No, I do not. Okay. There we go. White bed. Boop boop. Sweet dreams! Nice. That's where I came from. I might as well keep going wherever I'm going. That's somewhere, I can tell that. Don't know where it is, but it's going someplace. Where am I? Wasteland. Accurate. Hey, village. Are those crabs? There's crabs! That was adorable. Oh, like... What the laggies? Oh, the old beetroot texture! Oh... Aww. That's great. I love that. I remember... I don't think I have the seed for this world anymore, but there's one seeded world back when I was still playing on PS3 with the limited border with like a 500 by 500 area. There's a seed I absolutely adored and we reused over and over and over again, me with friends, cousins, family, what have you. And it was fantastic, and there was only one village on this whole map. So there's only like one way you could get beetroot seeds, and if you ran out of them, that was it. And one time, we hadn't really been replanting them, and we almost ran out, and I had to spend I spent a couple days just trying my best to keep these damn beetroots alive, because they have a horrible seed ratio. They give you like nothing in return. And so I spent a good minute just trying to rebuild specifically beetroot, even though it's a pointless crop. Because if we didn't, we'd lose all of the beetroot in the damn world. I almost said in the damn server, but that ain't right. And it ain't no realm either, so. It was just good old-fashioned, you open up a world, and if your friend's on, then you can join. See how the swamp fares us? I'm just busting through all this. Just wrecking this poor place. I just want to find a... There we go. I just want to find... That looks like death. I want to find a city. I want to go to a city. I want to be a city boy. I never necessarily thought of myself as one, but I am definitely a city boy. My thoughts of like going to a store, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go walk to the store. It's a mile away, whatever. Go walk to the store. Or take the public transport or what have you. Like, yeah, it's just down the road. It's downtown, just down the road. It's better than having to deal with getting a ride. It's fine. Moose! Or elk? Moose? I think moose. Could be elk. I think moose, though. Also, I need... Oh, wait. I have a great idea. I'm hoping this would work. This should work. Yeah! I got targeted by the chicken man. What are you on about? What are you on about? What is that over there? Something red. Poor man zoom. There's a crab! Crab! I had a little hiccup there. It's a crab! It's a crabby man. Iron. Iron greatsword. I think I still really like the idea of a greatsword. I do already have an iron sword though. What does it take to make... That's a lot. It would be real nice though. It would be real nice. And I have to make a handle, which takes sticks and wool. Or stick and string. I have the wool. I just need one more piece of iron for that. Although the iron may better be used for... yes, it is a crab! It's a crab! He's a crab! Whoa! He's a crab, man! Pumpkin! Hit the crab rave! Please! Hit the crab rave! He's doing it! He's doing it! Wait, where's my Twitch? I want to pull it up on my phone. I want to pull up my sound alerts. I want to pull up the sound alerts. The chicken man killed plush. Enough about that. There's crab rave going on. Where's crab rave? I can't hear it, but you guys will. Crab rave. Play it. Play on stream, please. There's still a cooldown. Yes. Game. Sound alerts, please go through. Please. Please. Please, while he's still doing it. It takes a minute, come on. Come on. And I lost stream. We're back! It was just drop frames. Please. Sound alerts. Sound alerts, go through. Sound alerts, go through. I don't know if it went through or not. I see the thing in chat that says it did. But sometimes it's delayed. And I can't hear if it did. I just want to know if it did. I'm putting in my own crab raves, but... There! Yes, it did! Yeah! Yeah! Okay, so if I see it in chat, then it has gone through. Yeah! I wasted like the entire Minecraft day doing that. I have no regrets. And back to this biome. There's another crab! Okay, iron. I hear googlies. And I don't want to deal with the mooglies. Why is the zombie getting hurt? What's hurting the zombie? If there's something hurting a zombie, I don't want to see what's hurting it. I'm just gonna grab my coal. Oh no, it's just the day. It was just the daytime. There's so many hackers on Bed Wars right now, it's wild. Yeah, that's why I don't touch PvP. Also, I'm just a horrible loser, but... I am a very sore loser. I do not touch PvP. Not to mention, I don't know what the hell to do. Ooh, pretty boys. What the hell's up there? What are you? You could be a bad boy. But you could also be an itch. Is that a skunk? I think that's a skunk. No, like, it's every single player? Ooh. Yeah, that sounds like it sucks ass. I'm failing to climb. There we go. Yeah, that sounds like it suck. I can't use the dead wood for that. Okay. I'm gonna go start crafting up my... Oh, but then I can't use the shield because it's a two-hand. The greatsword's two-handed. Me and Plush are trying to play and the names are all glitchy and their skins are all like Minecraft default skins. Sheesh. I can get a hammer. Hammer time. Iron spear. I want to reach a lance. I want to reach that isn't two-handed. Throwable throwing axe. Javelin's a throwable. Iron boomerang throwable. The battle axe is two-handed. Undead damage bonus for the flanked mace. We may go for mace. Glaive's two-handed. Quarterstaff two-handed. Throwing knife. Katana. Chest damage bonus. Longsword is two-handed. Dagger's throwable. So there's a hammer or a mace. I think I'm gonna go with the mace. How do we make a mace? It's even less! Okay, that's great. It was this, yes? Yeah, handle. Give me a handle. Give me that mace. Hell yeah. Nice. Hell yeah, I feel great about this. Feel great about all the decisions I'm making right now. That's a skunk. I want to fight the sheep. Bonk. Whoa. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother! Hell yeah, brother! Nice. Oh, nighttime. Yep. I can do something about the night. I can do something. Oh, we're almost already at an hour? Oof. I've just been enjoying the game mode. I still want to find a city, though. I want to find a damn city. Like, eventually we gotta come across one, right? I've come across 2 villages. Oh, you just weirdos. Come across 2 villages. You think I'd find... What are you? I'm gonna assume it's a wild boar and move on. Just gonna stick with that assumption. Sheep. I want this sheep. Let me grab this sheep. Goodbye. I should make water buckets. I already have a lava bucket. I'm gonna keep that on me for a little bit. That might prove useful as well. But having a genuine water bucket would be nice too. Well, wishing well. Do I get anything if I throw something down it? Do I get bad stuff if I throw on flesh in it? Oh. That's how the parasites started. Somebody threw rotten flesh in a wishing well. Is that a black bear? I think so. I just want to find a city. That's all I want to do. We might just continue playing off of this. Because this has ended up being way better than a simple test stream. Assuming that the VOD doesn't save the music. That is the goal. Oh, that's a wild boar. I don't know what the hell I saw earlier then. I swim so slow. And there's more sheep. I haven't seen a single cow. Also, in 3 minutes, we're gonna hit 8 o'clock, so... We'll find out if I start unreasonably lagging again. Because it seems like every single time I stream at 8 o'clock, it decides to lag. Don't matter, it just decides to lag. And then I have to abruptly close off stream. So I may change to either a later time or an earlier time. An earlier time sounds far more appealing, though. Oh, there's... straight up lag. Fireworks! What's setting off fireworks? What set off fireworks? We're not close to the city, are we? Okay, I just missed. I thought it was lagging. I didn't even see it swing. I do need to cook some food, though. Oh, I got a nice, pretty amount of food. Okay. We're gonna use the other lava bucket for that one. Lava bucket can last us a good while. I don't want to waste no coal. Alright. This has been pretty good. That's surprising. I seriously do like this, though. I haven't seen... I don't know... unless it's like a command to get the parasites going. Parasite. Spawn parrot, red parrot, blue parrot. I don't know. Are the parasite... Is the parasite mod even in here, or have I just been chilling with nothing? Because I have yet to see hide or hair of anything. Parasites. This main mod, Escape and Run Parasites, is it even in the mod pack? Because I haven't seen anything. Yeah, escape and run parasites is in there. They're out here somewhere. Don't they, like, from what I know of watching Forge Lab videos, it starts, like, underground. So we might not see it for a minute. Empty honeycomb. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, though. Iron grate. Oh, various types of wood chest. Nether smoker. Iron chain. And then there's all the weapons down here. Stone braced shield. Iron plated. Tin tower. Stone tower. Iron tower. Alright. And then there's a spikes enchantment. And the rest of this we know. And then there's wolf armor. Compact raw pork chop. Compact raw pork chop. Is this hunk of meat natural? Ma'am, that is a compressed piece of pork. God had no making, God had no hand in this creation, or however the fuck it goes. I just see the TF2 guy speaking to some Karen in a grocery store in my head. We're past 8 o'clock. The stream is fine so far. I ain't seeing any drop frames. Knock on wood. I don't know what the hell's wrong with the past streams. I don't know what the hell happened yesterday either. Yesterday's stream just decided to cut out in the middle of it. Don't know what the hell happened. It just decided, oh, you don't have the stream key. I have my account connected to it. It took the I didn't change anything. It took the entirety of stream completely shutting down for me to let me reopen it again. Don't know. I don't know. Explosive charge. I don't know shit about the parasites, though. I'm not seeing anything for them either. Unless goat cheese is part of parasites. Cooked venison. I'm not seeing anything that could contribute. Magic door! It's a magic door, Charlie. It's gonna take us to Candy Mountain. My camera's covering it. That's sad. Nice. I'm tempted to, like, move things around. You short womp. Yeah. I'm tempted to move my camera up here and then have chat a little below. Says the short ass. You know, I'm gonna completely change how we doing this. Because I'm tired of, like, me covering up stuff. I'm gonna completely break everybody's minds. Whoa! So I'm actually looking at the screen. Because I keep covering up everything over there. It's like the stereotypical spot for a camera, but it's a good spot for the camera. I wish I could find a way to make the chat go from top to bottom, not bottom to top, though. I don't know how to do that one. I've tried to figure it out. I can't. Streamlabs. I don't think that's an option. I remember trying to look for it at one point or another. They might have added it as an option. Font settings, chat notifications, message settings, message animations, hide messages after, hide chatters, extra emotes, icons, badges, platforms. I think it has to be like a custom HTML. I'll have to look into that. Because I don't know how to fix this otherwise. Something to look into. I just want to find a damn city. Then I'll be good. That's all I care about. I just want to find a city. I'm gonna have to get used to seeing me in the top left instead of the bottom right. I just want to see this damn city! There's supposed to be another mod that makes them even more difficult too. I want to see the damn city! What is that? That is definitely a structure. What is it? No, that's not a trick you could do. Okay. What? There's an ice castle. Is the world getting darker because I'm in the biome? No, it's not. It is just straight up night. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Alright. One. Okay, so it's a dungeon. Okay, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. We carry on. I want to see the city. I care about the city. And I'm aware I can't see with a low render distance, but I also can't stream with high render distance, so we're at a loss here. Crab. Crab. They all vibing. Alright. I don't know if this VOD turns out to be fine. I don't know if we'll stream Wednesday as well. I might just end up using this. I think, we'll see how Wednesday goes. So the problem is, Passion SMP videos, I want them to give them 2 weeks so I can have time to actually, like, work with the other people in the server and have time to get stuff done instead of burning myself out every single week with no time in between and no breathing room at all if something goes wrong. But that means I also have to have a video. I want to have a video every week, so that means I gotta do something in between. So I'm trying to use stream as a way to get that video. So I really hated that the VOD messed up. I'm hoping it's fixed itself now. I'm assuming the problem has come from I reset my streaming settings, and I didn't like check into advance to make sure the Twitch VOD was on the right track. It still is on the correct track, but I'm assuming because I didn't open it to verify that the VOD was on a different track, it just assumed it was on track 1, which has Spotify saved. So that's a bit of an issue. I think that's... Oh no, I know this one. I know the structure. It's just a spook. What do you spawn? You spawn witches. We don't care about that, no. No. Okay, where the hell is this city? What this... No, the city has spawners because of a mod. It would show up under... Pie chart is Shift F3. I never can get the pie chart to work. The way I've always gotten it... Debug pie is Shift. But that doesn't do anything. I can never get the pie chart to open. The only way I get it to open is by F3-1. Which ain't working. And F3 Shift never works either. There we go. Okay. Shift then F3. We need tick. And... tick level. There's no block entities. Blocks? No. Entities? Block entities. It's under that. Okay. Oh. Okay, never mind. Because I have to do Shift then F3 each time, and that's just going to kick me out of the boat. So that's not fun. That's why I use F3-1, because it's a lot easier. Crab! More crab! Oops. Is there nothing there? Is there anything there? Yes, there is. Is anything good? No, it isn't. Completely useless. Back to open waters. What the hell? What is this? Are these strongholds? I don't know what block that is. I'm a little afraid to get in the water because of the sharks we saw earlier. Yeah, that's stone brick. I'm gonna assume that's a stronghold for my sanity and move on. I don't want to think about it as anything else than that. There's parasites roaming the world. I don't trust nothing. Is this just like a world of oceans? What the hell? What the hell? There's a guardian, and it's gone. It was here and it's gone. When the ocean was so small. Boat! Friend boat! Friend? Friend? No, bad boat. Good stuff? Whoo, you meanies. Well, they got chests down there, but I don't know if it's worth it. Well, he tried. He certainly tried. There's fuck all here. What the hell? I just wanted to see a city. And there ain't no compass to help me. I could get a bug habitat. Okay. Different types of shell. Glass item frame. Cave crystals. Different walls. Oh, these are the parasite things. Spawn buglin. Vested blocks. It's just a really small area. Oh, no. There's stuff up here too. Veins. I think we saw those earlier. In one of the second cave we went to. There's something in the cave. I thought it was just like a plant. We might have already come across the parasite. What's going on over here? Or is it nothing? There's something. Land! I hope. Just get all that out of my inventory. Don't care about it. Don't care none. Land! I don't know if the world chunk thing goes back far enough to chunk base. I don't know if chunk base goes back far enough to 1.12, otherwise I'd look up what's going on here. But then that wouldn't help much because I have biomes aplenty, huh? Do I have dynamic? I don't even have sticks. Do I have dynamic lights? No. I placed my bow and it scared the hell out of me. Yeah, that. I think that's the virus thing. No, it's just a glow shroom. Okay, never mind. Completely, absolutely incorrect. Okay. We haven't seen any... I don't know if the virus is a thing you have to start yourself or it just starts growing. You know, I should actually look into that. I should look, because I've just been running around with zero direction at all. What day am I even on? Will it tell me at all? Biome, chunk, facing, light, local... Day 3. Day 3 and fuck all's happened. Escape and run parasites. This mod adds hostile parasite-themed mobs to your Minecraft game for you to fight. They can be dangerous, scary, and some of them can learn from your fights to evolve. They have no biome-specific spawns, so you could find them anywhere. The parasites don't burn in daylight, and they can attack other hostile mobs. Optional. Okay. So eventually they will. It just takes a while. Takes a cow! Oh, the first cows we've seen this entire time! I'm gonna leave you guys be. I got enough lamb for now. If I see more cows again, then they're dead. But you guys can live. You lot may live. A little sign of respect, a little sign of peace. Also, this bayou is gorgeous. I don't need. And I haven't seen any more iron either. I'll lay this shit boring. Maybe we won't. I like playing this old mod pack, but maybe we won't then. What I'm really tempted to do is just grab a couple people. Maybe Pumpkin convince you to do this. And for a video, just go through. I'll just find some world or another. And we just go through it. Yeah, because this is just boring at this point. Good test stream, though. I'm not quite ended yet. I want to see. I trust Bedrock to do that. Bedrock tends to actually have fun maps. In my experience, Bedrock has fun maps. Do I have this the lowest it could be? No. Bedrock has fun maps. Curseforge, eh. There's always, of course, servers. There's always Lucky Blocks, 1 block. Medieval Port City. Filters? What are the filters? Game map. It's mostly just Lucky Blocks. Parkour effects. Misplaced a Backrooms horror map. Diversity 2. Sky Islands. A Realm of Midgard. Indigo Hotel Escape Room. Escape 100 rooms inside Hotel Indigo. That does actually genuinely sound fun. This map was made for 1 to 4 players. What's gallery look like? That's actually pretty cool looking. Pumpkin, you want to do Indigo Hotel with me? I got a mod that'll let us play together, hopefully. I can't remember. I'll have to find what it is. I know there is a mod. Did I send it to myself? I have a server to myself where I just send myself shit to remember. Essential. What version is the Indigo Hotel? 1.20.4 to 1.20.1. And Essential. What versions do you have? Yeah, you can do that version. You can do that version. Go back to Worlds. I don't care about Essential. World, scroll down. Indigo Hotel, please. You are cool looking. Hell yeah, we could absolutely do that. Music off, sounds minimum 30%, render distance 2 to 6, brightness fit. This looks cool. Optifine recommended, do not use sodium, it could cause problems in the resource pack. In case of playing a server, use the provided server.properties. I'll have to remember that because that's cool. I'll just create a new profile for it. Play, maybe. Because that's cool. Do I still have the correct filters on? That's mod packs. I want to look at worlds. The other issue of doing this on Bedrock is I'd have to pay for it. Tutorial World Collection. Zombie Apocalypse 4. I do have a Lucky Block Race, actually. Do I own any Bedrock maps that I haven't... Oh, Operation Progress, yeah, I'll stay. Do I own any maps I haven't used? Are you done? No, you're not. Minecraft. Do I own any ones I haven't used? Perhaps? Maybe? Maybe? I don't even know what account I'm on. Sign in. Yeah, that's the right one. Let me change to my actual skin. Own skin. Choose new skin. Give me correct skin. Give me that. Yes. No, I do not want to exit OBS. No. No. Do I own any worlds still? Create. Owned by... I don't own any? What do you mean? I know I own worlds. I know for a fact I do. I at least have a Terraforce. Did you just steal all the ones I own? There you go, there's a Lucky Block and Terra Swoop Force. I know I have more, but that might just be on a different account. Alright, I'll have to figure that out then. Because mod packs can be a little boring for me, unfortunately. They just can be a little more boring. I forgot I also had another one saved. That's called... it's a mod called Skyrim Craft. Tempted to do that one. I'll have to look into it. Alright. Yeah, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. This has been a bit of a test stream, a little bit of here and there. I'm just gonna try and get the VOD up tonight. So that'll be in the Discord shortly, and a link to it will be in the Discord shortly. Yeah. Because I already have a thumbnail and everything else. Yeah. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye! Still don't know if I'm gonna do a stream Wednesday or not. Bye!